So, I've been pretty interested in adaptations recently. I've been watching a ton, trying to figure out what makes them work and what makes them not. Rewatching a ton of shows and rereading a ton of manga has led me to a particular series you've probably heard of, Chainsaw Man. A manga series written and illustrated by Tatsuki Fujimoto, a pretty interesting guy with an even more peculiar track record. This manga was serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump, but this is not like most Shonen Jump series, which are known for their strong messages of friendship, love, positivity, and overall lighthearted tones. Throw that shit out the window when you're reading Chainsaw Man. Blood, guts, action, violence, sex, a heap of depression, autism, lesbians, and Mads Mikkelsen. Everything that young manga readers shouldn't be reading, you name it, it's probably in this manga, and I wouldn't have it any other way. This series has garnered worldwide acclaim and success all because it breaks away from the norm that we are used to and does its own crazy thing. The first chapter sets the tone for the rest of this series, and it starts off strong. The story begins somber and depressing but weirdly hilarious, with one of the first panels stating that Denji, our main character, sold one of his fucking balls so he can keep up with his payments to the Yakuza. With his adorable pet dog, devil chainsaw thing Pochita, he works as a devil hunter and lives in squabble. The first chapter culminates, spoiler alert, with Denji being duped and trashed, literally, with Pochita sacrificing himself to keep Denji and his dream alive. With that, Chainsaw Man is born. The next few panels showcase psychedelic, gory action you'd expect from Doom, and this is just the beginning. It's only gonna get weirder and crazier from here. So when I tuned in during the fall of 2022 to watch Chainsaw Man's anime adaptation, and I was greeted with this, I was a bit disappointed in the adaptation, but not for the reasons one should usually be disappointed for. Pause, hold on. Before we continue, what even is an adaptation in the first place? Let's just get this across. I'll be generalizing a lot of things, so don't kill me if I don't explain every little detail in this video. An adaptation in the context of media is the process of taking an existing established work, which could be a book, play, video game, manga, or really any other form of content, and reimagining it in a different medium. With this process comes something many people loathe, which is the transforming of the story, characters, or even base concepts from the original to fit the new medium. This isn't done in bad faith, as the creators of an adaptation are trying to appeal to a new and different audience. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but hey, providing a fresh and new perspective on an already cherished piece of media isn't a bad thing, right? Time and time again, I watch an anime adaptation and I end up hating it. Weirdly enough, 9 times out of 10, when I later go to find the original work, I end up loving them. Why is that? I'm always drawn in by these interesting stories and worlds, but the adaptations just can't seem to do the original author justice. Is translating a game, manga, or light novel into an anime really that tall of an order? In the case of manga, which makes up nearly 60% of anime adaptations, the panels are right there. Is it really that hard? Well, yeah, it kinda is. An adaptation must be faithful, it must look great, and it has to capture the magic that made the original what it is. It's a pretty tall order, and I understand why many anime seem to barely get their foot in the door. There are a few that fit the bill, and they regarded as the cream of the crop. Shows like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Jojo's, One Punch Man, Mob Psycho 100, Haruhi, and Monogatari, just to name a few. Alright, let me set something straight. Chainsaw Man's anime was awesome, the voice acting was great, the animation was stellar, and the story was adapted faithfully for the most part. The Chainsaw anime was also regarded as a success by MAPPA's CEO, so there's that. I really don't know the validity on that, so don't sue me, alright? Most audiences loved it too, and everyone was talking about it. But despite all that, I still think this adaptation was not what Chainsaw Man needed. You might be calling me crazy, and maybe I am. But in my eyes, despite all the success and greatness surrounding this anime, it just wasn't a good adaptation. How do I put this into terms that make sense? The Chainsaw Man anime is like a paper, and on this paper, MAPPA and co. went above and beyond using intricately crafted sentences and amazing prose that effortlessly conveys the thought and love that was put into this work, but they wrote about something that wasn't taught in class. That is what I think the Chainsaw Man anime is like, an adaptation that goes off and does its own thing but still passes with flying colors. When I sit back and throw away my preconceived notions as to what Chainsaw Man is and appreciate what this anime has to offer, I can get on board and say it's a masterfully crafted anime. The set pieces are detailed and captivating. The art direction is beautiful. The character animations are so detailed, it's mesmerizing, and their expressions convey a ton of information. The animation is great at expressing motion and fluidity, making some scenes feel a bit too realistic that is almost jarring, but in like a good way. Hearing the characters speak the goofy dialogue from the manga is surreal to say the least, but adds to my enjoyment. This is a damn good anime, and I implore you to either try it or recommend it to your friends. I see this as a good introduction to anime without all the weird stuff, but again, this might be an amazing anime, but in my horrible opinion that is always right, it just doesn't quite live up to the original as an adaptation. When I say the adaptation is bad, I am by no means insulting any of the amazing people that worked on it. Maybe the director and the producer, but that's about it. The colors used in the anime plays a big role in my disappointment. Everything feels so muted. While it's a good choice of palette and it doesn't look bad, I had big hopes for the anime after seeing the vibrant and expressive neon colors on the manga's volume covers. It's just stylistically two forms of Chainsaw Man, they just clash. The anime is too clean and the manga is gritty and a mess. Chainsaw Man is supposed to be ugly, goofy, stupid, brutal, cartoonish, and at times artistic. While in the anime it's too stoic, lifelike, stiff, plain, and cinematic. The Chainsaw Man manga, even in its darkest moments, just had an inherent goofiness that permeated from it. But the anime lacked that. Why? This is all per the director Ryu Nakayama's image. In an interview, Ryu just straight up said, "I don't like anime, and I want to make anime for people who don't like anime." So there's that. Nakayama from the beginning sought to make this animation cinematic, mature, and realistic, and this seemed to have gotten him a lot of hate across the internet, where fans of the manga felt betrayed that the producer prioritized newcomers over diehard fans. I can discuss the flame wars, but I'm just here to cope with what could have been. I understand that adapting a manga with a unique and interesting art style is tough, but I could not think about Jojo's or even Mob Psycho 100 when rewatching and analyzing this adaptation. Araki and One are on two sides of the spectrum when it comes to art style, but David Production and Studio Bones somehow nailed it for both. They made amazing and memorable adaptations that in all honesty transcended the originals. They needed to take a different approach when animating those manga, and they did, but they still maintained the vibe that made the originals so magical. That was what I and many others wanted for the Chainsaw Man anime. Something stylized, goofy, humorous, but still dark and gritty, just like the original manga. It really is frustrating seeing Chainsaw Man, of all things, being adapted like a live-action cinematic movie. Fujimoto has other works that could fit this style perfectly. Hell, Fire Punch and this Mappa style would go hand in hand. Chainsaw Man does not take itself too seriously, unless shit hits the fan, and is something that revels in its insanity. So when I read Mappa producer Keisuke Seshimo outright stating, "I am around to stop the show from becoming too extreme and peculiar, because while creators have been exposed to so much art that nothing will be so radical as to scare them away, your average Joe might only want to look at beautiful, polished drawings." This is even more disheartening when I see glimpses of what could have been in the Chainsaw Man anime itself. The openings and endings are by far my favorite thing about this adaptation. Kickback has the essence of what makes Chainsaw Man, Chainsaw Man. That creepy and foreboding feeling that follows you throughout the opening, contrasted by hilarious scenes of characters doing stupid shit, and with them recreating iconic movie scenes, giving it a whimsical tone despite all the crazy stuff going on. It really is just perfect. Oh man, I wish the rest of the anime was like this. The opening doesn't take itself too seriously, exactly like those trashy slasher flicks that inspired Fujimoto's stories. Oh yeah, and the goofy dances at the end. Holy shit, why wasn't the anime more like this? Kenshi also killed it in the music department, already making it one of the best openings of the decade, and I think it's going to be remembered for a long time. This theme of the opening having the spirit and soul of the manga also stays true for a good majority of the endings. The decision to have 12 different endings for the anime was insane, and it really showed how much people loved this series. I can feel the love and passion from the animators when watching these endings. My favorite endings were the second, third, and fourth because again, they showcased exactly what I thought Chainsaw Man was. The psychedelic, gory action of the third ending, the color palette and character design of the second ending, and that silly let's not take this too seriously feeling that exuded from the fourth. So what am I getting at here? Basically, what I'm getting at is MAPPA should never adapt another anime. With the anime fandom, adaptations quickly become something toxic. Even if the adaptation is done well, there will always be a vocal, unpleased crowd. With the Chainsaw Man adaptation splitting the fanbase, you either loved it or hated it. I and everyone who read Chainsaw Man had an ideal adaptation in our minds. What we got might not have been what I and many others wanted, but it was still great. I'm starting to think adaptations in anime might be too faithful. Most manga that become anime adaptations just follow the original panels one-to-one and don't really change anything. While this isn't necessarily bad for iconic things like something that defined a moment in the series, it is a bit lazy and uncreative most of the time. Just go read the original work at that point. Why even adapt it in the first place? Even worse are some that end up horribly done and rushed, making it feel like the anime was not worth watching at all. So was what MAPPA did to Chainsaw Man all that bad? The soul of what made the manga such a weird and schizophrenic read might not fully be there, but there is still soul there regardless of what I say. The anime was beautifully crafted, and while I don't agree with the director's vision, I could still feel the love and care that went into it, and I enjoyed watching it. I'll concede, even if I prefer the manga, the anime was great. With the anime adaptation, we now have two versions of Chainsaw Man. It is not like watching or reading one will make your experience of the other worse or even put you off from continuing the series like other anime adaptations. If an adaptation takes advantage of its medium while still being faithful to the story, fuck it, go ahead, do whatever in reason. At the end of the day, it's an adaptation no matter how you slice it. In no way could it capture all the quirks and visual storytelling that are commonplace and draw you into the medium called manga, like Fujimoto's use of time. To make scenes feel impactful, Fujimoto does this crazy thing, where you're reading a moment and bam, you're greeted with some crazy shit. Fujimoto uses time to make scenes feel impactful, with a perfect example of this being Denji's death in the first chapter. In 1 second, Denji is attacked and surrounded. He tries to run with Pochita in tow, and boom. In the next, we are greeted with this artistic panel, which quickly shifts to Denji and Pochita in the garbage. The anime takes a different approach, making this scene drag, adding to the horror and hopelessness that Denji is probably feeling right then and there, as his screams echo into the night. Both scenes are amazing in their own right, with the anime extending the moment, making it feel all the more real. This small change made a scene I liked into one I love. This type of adaptation is something I want more anime to try and do. It was like the original scene was a nice cake, perfectly good in its own right, while the anime added some nice frosting, making the already good moment even better. The tone and energy that Chainsaw Man is known for wasn't all there, but instead we got something that enhanced the characters' moments and made the world of Chainsaw Man feel realer. I see this Chainsaw Man adaptation kind of like Hunter x Hunter's OVAs. Both are stories that are faithful to the original but go off and do their own thing, taking artistic liberties and feeling way more mature than their manga counterparts. I don't know, maybe one day, who knows, we might just get our own 2011 version of Chainsaw Man just like how Hunter x Hunter did. With rumors of the director changing for the next season, maybe next time Chainsaw Man graces us, it'll show up with a style reminiscent of the manga, or maybe something different entirely. So, what do you think? Was the Chainsaw Man anime a flop that couldn't live up to the original's reputation, or was it all you could have hoped for and then some? Be sure to tell me what you think, as I'm a bit divided on this. All I know is that if an adaptation isn't garbage like Berserk's, I'll probably be watching it. I've been your humble host. Thanks for watching, and bang!